Hello and welcome back to the channel. Ed Paget here, and today I want to talk to you about lifestyle medicine and specifically why I think it's the future of medicine and how I apply it to myself. See, as an osteopath, I was trained to help people recover from illness and injury. And primarily this was done with physical tests, a case history, and really understanding, what it was that caused the onset of that person's problem. Last year, I wanted to broaden this form of coaching so I could help people using a more holistic lifestyle medicine approach. And I decided to take a course out of Finland with a company called HINTSA. Now, the reason I chose them is that they have a history of helping high-performance athletes perform at their best. Now, they did this by specializing in F1. So 85% of F1 drivers have a HINTSA-trained performance coach that works with them. And what I like about HINTSA is that they use this wheel to describe their principles. So in the middle we have core or purpose. And around the outside we have nutrition, biomechanics, mental energy, sleep and recovery, physical activity, and general health. So I'm going to go through each one of those and see how it can apply to you and how I apply it to myself. The first one is core. And we could also use a different way of saying that. We can say, well, what is the purpose of your life? And we can ask some deeper questions here. We can say, do you know who you are? Do you know what you want? And are you in control of your life? Those are deep questions and they can open a whole can of worms. But I want to put that into perspective for you. So I used to work with Olympic level athletes and went to the Olympics with Team Canada. And imagine you're an Olympic athlete and you're training for the World Championships or leading up to the Olympics. And someone says to you, hey, do you want to go to this party? There's going to be tons of people there, drinks, maybe some drugs, that kind of stuff. And it's 4 days before a competition. You're probably going to say no. In fact, if you were a good athlete, you wouldn't even hesitate in saying no. It does not fit one bit with your purpose or what your mission is, what your goal is. And so it's a definite no, it's a hard no. And if you have purpose in life, if you have core, if you have a mission, and if you have control of your life, decisions become very, very easy. Would you like to do this? No, it doesn't fit. Would you like to do this? Yes, it does fit. And so having a guiding principle in your life can actually make decision making, and it can make the direction of your life very, very easy. So let's talk about nutrition. I think I eat a pretty healthy diet. It's very varied, lots of vegetables, a little bit of meat, and so on. But I didn't really know what my internal physiology was. So I used a company called HINTSA Tracker that measures 46 different blood markers. And to my surprise, I was not optimal across the board. In fact, I actually had high cholesterol. And it was the LDL cholesterol that was high, which is the one that you want to be lower. And HINTSA Tracker actually offers advice on how to lower cholesterol if it's high. And one of the things it mentioned was that if you use a lot of coconut oil in your cooking, it can actually raise LDL. Sure enough, I was using a lot of coconut oil. I felt it was better than cooking with olive oil because if you heat olive oil, it can change and actually end up becoming bad for you. So the first thing I did was cut out the coconut oil out of my cooking. And then I went back to my osteopathic principles and thought, well, what can I do to help my digestive system eliminate the excess cholesterol? And so we want to stimulate the biliary system and the gallbladder. And we can do that by, interestingly, ingesting more olive oil. And so I added more olive oil into my diet. And there's some great research on that, which I will link below. And I also wanted to prime my digestive system. And the way we do that is we can actually have bitters. So bitter salad greens, some mint, All those things stimulate the biliary system, plus the olive oil stimulates the gallbladder system, and that helps flush out too much cholesterol. And within literally a few months, took my LDL right down, just making some nice little dietary changes. The only food group I pay close attention to is protein. Now I weigh 70 kilos and I'm 45 years old, and as you get older your protein requirement actually goes up. So I'm looking to get about 1 gram per kilo, or 70 grams a day. So that's the equivalent of 11 eggs, assuming that eggs are 6 grams of protein. Some people say they're 13 grams of protein, but let's say they assume they're 6 grams of protein. So that's a lot of protein, that's a lot of eggs. Now, I have a post on this on my blog at paget.com where I go into more detail, but essentially people worry about their fat consumption, they worry about their carbohydrate consumption, and they tweak those, but they don't keep their protein consumption the same. It's the only food group that should not change. It is a fixed amount per kilo, it's not a percentage. So it's very important to monitor your protein intake, especially as you get older, and especially if you want to keep or even increase muscle mass. Next area on the HINTSA wheel is biomechanics. So the way we move our body is hugely important, but unfortunately in our modern times, we don't seem to move our bodies at all. We spend most of our days sitting, and that contrasts hugely with our evolutionary history, where movement would have been a vital part of our life. So this was really brought home to me recently when I did a survival camping trip where I had to hunt and move through the jungle every day looking for food. And I was using my body in ways that I don't ordinarily use it. And I go to the gym every day and I practice mobility, but climbing over plants, up and down hills, jumping, landing, being quiet because we were hunting, all these things were actually very challenging for me. And I realized that we need more movement in our lives. So how do we do that? Well, we can put in a movement practice like yoga or animal flow, and we can actually time stack. It's one of Katie Bowman's things that she's very good at talking about. So here, for example, I like to use my matted area in the evenings to do mobility routines whilst I watch TV. This brings us to mental energy. So our modern day is all go, 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 and rarely do we switch off. The average parent gets up, hits the ground running. Kids to school, go to work, come home, make dinner, and maybe watch a sort of a high adrenaline show, TV show in the evenings before going to bed. But it's important to take time out to down-regulate the nervous system. Now we can do that via meditation, a movement meditation, or breath work, and there's many ways of doing it. Those are 3. And personally, I like the Wim Hof method, which is a method of breath work, but it involves concentration, so it stops my mind from wandering. Standard Buddhist type meditation I found very difficult, so I was drawn to the Wim Hof method. But it's also been proven to have some amazing benefits on the nervous system and to help regulate our response to illness and also help regulate our response to stress. You combine that with the cold plunging, it can have huge physical benefits as well, with increasing metabolism through brown fat synthesis. So how do you find the time to do this? Well, there is time in your life. You know, everyone has time, and it really is a question of saying to yourself, okay, tomorrow I need to be on point. My mental performance needs to be 100%. So today I'm going to do something which helps downregulate and give my brain a break so that tomorrow I can be better. You know, an analogy of this is to say, okay, you are training your muscles and you train them really hard today. Tomorrow you're going to be a bit sore and you'll probably want to take a break. Same thing is true to our brain, but for whatever reason, we, as you know, humans living in the North American go-go-go lifestyle, don't think of our brain as needing a break, but it does. We need to take some time out to allow our brain to recuperate so it can perform really well the next day. And along with mental energy, we also have sleep and recovery. Now, I like the phrase, you can't eat your way out of poor sleep. And that's so important. You know, people fret about eating organic and they sort of go to great lengths to change the things in their environment, but they don't change the way they sleep. And the bottom of the pyramid, so to speak, the foundation, is sleep. So when I coach my clients, I emphasize that sleep is a cycle, and what you do in the morning can affect what you do at night. For example, when you get daylight into your eyes first thing in the morning, it actually increases the cortisol. That's the get up and go hormone. And as Dr. Huberman likes to say, you know, daylight before screen time, and he's right. So when daylight hits the retina, it causes a reaction that increases that cortisol and suppresses the melatonin. And melatonin is the sleep hormone. But darkness does the opposite, right? Darkness gets us ready for sleep. However, in the evenings, we have the lights on, the TV screens, and all these things can disrupt that cycle between the cortisol and the melatonin. So in the evenings, I personally use blue light blocking glasses. And these blue light blocking glasses block the light that comes off screens. And one of my favorite ones are Swannies, and I'll put a link for those below. So this helps prep my body for sleep. But there's a thing called sleep hygiene, and that's how sort of hygienic for sleep is your room. For me, my room unfortunately is not completely blackout. I've tried, but I have a street light outside my room. So I use an eye mask, and living in Central America, there's a lot of noise, especially if I have the windows open, so I use earplugs as well. Now with the foundation of sleep dialed in, we can actually talk about physical activity. So did you know the World Health Organization recommends children and adolescents between 5 and 17-year-olds should do about 60 minutes of moderate or vigorous activity a day? Now, they should, on top of that, should also be doing strength training 3 times a week. Now for adults, they actually recommend 2.5 to 5 hours of moderate intensity activity a week, plus strength training at least 2 times a week. Now, most of my clients and the children are not meeting these WHO goals, and these WHO goals are not there to make you an athlete, they're there to stop you from getting sick, to stop you from being weak when you grow old. Now, this is a shame because exercise, it's free, and it's one of the best ways to prevent disease and illnesses in the future. Now, when I was a young father, I did find I fell into the trap of exercising, especially when I was growing my business. And I used to have osteopathic patients come to me and they say, yeah, I haven't been to the gym for 2 weeks, I feel a little bit unfit. And you know, I would sort of chuckle on the inside and say, well, I haven't been to the gym for a year. But that needed to change, and I've made it a priority now. So for me, I had to have accountability, and I found people who I could exercise with. So with jiu-jitsu, I have people who I meet every morning. I also have changed the way I celebrate things like birthdays. Rather than having a dinner or going out for a few drinks, I actually make it a physical challenge. And I've built this activity into my life. It's non-negotiable. And I find when my clients take the physical activity as seriously as their nutritional changes, if they're already into the nutritional changes, great things can happen. And that brings me on to general well-being, general health. It's a culmination of everything else. And for some of my clients, we measure that. We measure that through blood tests, through doctor's tests. And for other clients, we don't. They're not into that because there is a downside or a dark side to over-measuring things. And essentially, that is that you can become reliant on the device. For example, I've talked in my podcast and on my blogs about a device called a Whoop, which measured your activity levels, measured your sleep, and put them into a really nice comparison called recovery. However, occasionally the Whoop would get things wrong, and it would say my recovery was really poor, even though I thought the recovery was really good. And there are studies showing that when a person is told that their sleep is not good, they actually have a cognitive decline. You know, their brain isn't working so well, even though their sleep was good. So you could be tricked by some of these devices and measuring. So we also want to be able to internally feel what is what is a good day, what is a bad day, whether we're tired or not tired, and not just rely on devices. Okay, with all those parameters pulled together, we've got the nutrition under control, we've got the mental energy, the stress under control, we're avoiding toxic substances, we are prioritizing rest and recovery. We're very unlikely to get sick. And this is why I think this is the future of medicine. It's why go to your doctor and get a prescription for an illness that could have been avoided in the first place. Most of the illnesses we're dying from, stroke, heart disease, and cancers, are actually illnesses of affluence. They're illnesses of our modern day society. And they are preventable if we're willing to make some changes in our lives. But I'm going to wrap this video up now, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, but also click on that notification bell and send my channel to a friend who you feel would enjoy my content as well. Thank you for doing those things. Your support makes a huge difference. And also, as you may know, I help people recover from illness and injury using a combination of specific exercises and lifestyle medicine. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more about what it would be like to work with me, please send me an email to ed@edpaget.com, and I look forward to connecting with you. So stay tuned for my next video, which will be up soon. So until then,